Hi class. I wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you about reading Candide over the next few weeks. It's important that before you dive in that you read the essay assignment guidelines for the Candide essay first, so you sort of have a reason and purpose for reading. And then our weeklies and discussions along the way will try to help you focus your ideas to make it easy to write that paper. Please note that the page numbers in the syllabus correspond with Theo Cuffe's translation of the Penguin Deluxe edition of Candide. That's what's required for this course. The translation is contemporary and clear and easier to follow than any of the other translations I've seen. And the endnotes at the back of the book are invaluable for helping to provide additional historical and cultural context and making you a little bit more familiar with some terms that we don't use in normal parlance today. And without knowing that, your comprehension would get stopped. You'd have no idea what the heck Voltaire was talking about. Believe it or not, this text is actually a satire. It's funny, but it's full of inside jokes and thinly veiled attacks on specific institutions and individuals whom Voltaire parodies in this satire. Let's talk a little bit about how to use the book. You're really going to be kind of reading back and forth at the same time. We're going to start with chapter 1 and save the introduction for a later reading assignment. And as you read, you're going to cross-relate the chapters themselves with a section of the book that's called Notes at the end of the book. As you read, you'll find that specific numbers in the book correspond with specific references in the back of the book, which will explain to you references of critical significance without which you won't be able to fully understand the text, even on a basic level. So, for instance, while the text was originally called Optimism, the corresponding note for the title page tells us that optimism, in its usage at the time, was actually a specific belief, not the same thing as the word is used today. And it's critical you take some time to read that and understand what Leibniz meant by optimism so you understand what Voltaire is criticizing. I want to show you a quick demo of how the endnotes affect our comprehension. So take a look with me at the first page of chapter 1. Once upon a time in Westphalia, in the castle of Monsieur the Baron von Thundertentronckh, there lived a young boy on whom nature had bestowed the gentlest of dispositions. His countenance expressed his soul. He combined solid judgment with complete openness of mind, which is the reason, I believe, that he was called Candide. The older servants of the house suspected him to be the son of the Baron's sister by a kindly and honest gentleman of the neighborhood, whom that young lady refused ever to marry because he could only ever give proof of 71 quarterings, the rest of his genealogical tree having been lost through the ravages of time. Ha ha ha! Quarterings! Can you believe it? Makes perfect sense, right? So the people who worked in the house suspected that Candide's father was a gentleman, someone with money and a position in society, but Candide's mom wouldn't ever marry him because he could only prove that he had 71 quarterings. Quarterings, of course, but what the heck does that mean? When was the last time you used the word quarterings in contemporary parlance? If you're like me, probably never before reading Candide. So we note that we're in chapter 1. We see the superscripted number 1 that indicates there's an endnote there. So we flip to our notes. We find the notes section at the end of the book is arranged by chapter. And we see that in chapter 1, the information to understand what a quartering is listed. And we can follow that out and figure out what it means and realize, my goodness, no one had 71 quarterings. So just like many of the jokes in the book, the 71 quarterings depends on Voltaire's assumption that his original intended audience, an educated upper-class readership during the Enlightenment, would be familiar with how to use that term. Since we don't have that native historical cultural context, we have to do a little additional work to figure it out. So please, as you read the book, cross-reference back and forth between the text itself and the endnotes, and you'll be required to pull them in various ways. Thanks so much, and I hope this is helpful. Have fun reading Candide.